There we go. So welcome again, everyone. We are going to start today's yoga for well-being class on your belly. So lying on your belly, you can make a pillow with the backs of your hands and rest your forehead on your hands or turn your head to the side. My name is Joy Dempsey, and I'm going to be leading you through this experience. Have you in this place to really give you this inside look. If you haven't already, close your eyes. You're 80% more aware of what's going on the inside when your eyes are closed. So if you can catch yourself during today's class and close your eyes if they're open. If you're balancing, it's a little harder, but in a place like this, it's easier. So now when you've closed your eyes and you're going inside, to notice the breath that comes in and goes out. Comes in and goes out. Nice and slowly, mindfully bring that breath in and out. We're going to use the breath today to work on an idea called mindfulness. I'm sure you've probably heard that word. One of the benefits of yoga is the fact that we're using mindfulness throughout the practice. And if you've done yoga before, you might have that feeling, that really settled feeling at the end of class. Some of it's from stretching your body, but a lot of it is from having the mind be involved in the practice. And so in this time we're in, fear is a part of what we're moving through. And that type of mind is a mind that tends to be more like a judge. It judges information that comes in. It tries to prioritize, judge, compare, and that brings the mind into a more stressful place. So today, as we're moving through mindfully noticing, try to take the judge hat off and put on your explorer hat. I guess it's more like a Tilly hat. Maybe you have your telescope, maybe your khaki pants, but we're exploring today. So with the eyes closed, explore, notice. So try to take away that idea of judgment and instead look at all the noticing things, so that the breath inflates the rib cage and deflates the rib cage, and how the rib cage presses towards the floor. And remember, when you're exploring, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. And so that is something that you also want to see, keep in check. If a thought comes to your mind, it sounds more like a judging kind of thought, say, nope, I'm an explorer today. That being said, if any of the places I'm bringing you today brings pain, you will explore those and you will come out of those. So don't stay in a place that's causing you discomfort or pain, strong discomfort or pain. We're here to move the body. We're here to feel sensations, but not to feel pain sensation. Couple more breaths here, taking an inhale and an exhale. An inhale and an exhale. Slide your right knee out to the side for half frog pose. Your knees out in line with the hips. So taking just a little bit of a different opening here. Start to notice with that slight change how the body feels just a little bit different. We don't often notice our body. Our body is often the reactor. So our mind thinks and the body just follows along. So now we are turning the body as the main place in the spotlight. That right leg is going to go down and the left leg is out instead. And just notice that one shift from this side to that side, how it feels a bit different. More breaths in and out. And just know that this is a yoga pose. It's called half frog pose. And if as we're moving through the class, you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the doing part and the poses, coming back to this place, watching your breath is doing yoga. And sometimes it's even better yoga. If you know yourself well enough to like, no, I just need a little bit of a break. You don't really even need a reason. Physical or mental, if you're being drawn to more stillness, please take that opportunity for more stillness. Having said that, I am going to start to get you to move. So slide that left leg back down and press yourself up. So you're up on your hands and your knees. This is called tabletop. And sort of get yourself set with some intention so the knees have some space between them. The toes are pointed back or tucked under. Either way is fine. But the hands are pressing into the floor. Wrist sensitivities. I want to put a little bit more weight onto the outsides of your hands to take that extra sensation away. Move your mind's eye into the torso and start to move your torso. So you can move it back and forth as cat-cow, or you can move it around in a circle. Sometimes we call this moving the torso around in a barrel. So moving, there's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. I want you to move to feel. So move, notice, move and notice, move and notice. So the hips can move, the head can move. To get into the center part of the body, and especially if you're moving around and you're like, oh, that place feels a little bit gooey, feel free to stay there or move back and forth through there. Trying to notice the sensations that are coming inside the body. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong. We're exploring the sensations. Okay, and then bringing the center, the spine back to center. Hands press into the ground. Just give that little extra amount of stability into the center. So the back body lifts up just a teeny bit into a place of strength. And then you're going to lift the right knee off of the floor, keeping the right leg bent till the knee comes in line with the hip. And then from here, notice the knee and hip in line-ish. This is a bit strong. So noticing the hands pressing into the ground, strong. We're going to move the leg with the breath, and it's called a donkey kick, but we're going to make it super slow-mo today. So slowly lift the knee up about 6 or 8 inches. And as you exhale, bring the knee down in line with the hip. Inhale, lifting the knee up a bit. Exhale, back down a bit. Inhale, up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit, up a bit. You're wondering how many times I'm going to say this, probably a couple more. Up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit. I'm just wanting to make you feel like you want to smile. Do you want to smile yet? Yes? Okay. So now bring the leg down and have that right knee hover. Leah, I'll have you turn to face me so this is a better view. So that right knee is down, but it's hovering over the ground, and it's going to come out to the side. And then it's going to come back down. And it's going to come out to the side, super slow-mo, mindfully down, up. I guess you can kind of channel your inner puppy on this one. Out to the side. I think we have some young ones joining along. Back down. Hopefully that made them smile. Out to the side and back down. Out to the side, straighten the leg and put the toe down. So now down the line of your mat, you have your left knee and your right toe in the same line. You have both hands pressing down into the ground. Press both arms into the ground. Really feel strong through the back. This one might require you to lift the corners of your mouth to lift that foot off of the ground. And then bring it down a little bit to hover. And then back up. This should be hard. Down to hover. So if you're like, what are you doing, Joy? It's hard. Lift it back up. Nice. And put the toe down. Just a little extra there. Okay, now we're going to open up to stand up onto that knee. So you're standing on the left knee. Right leg is long. And this is going to set up us for our whole next section. So you might need a little time to get yourself set up here. If the knee on the ground, the bent knee that's on the ground is making contact with the ground and that doesn't feel comfortable for that knee, feel free to put some blanket or padding underneath that knee. Taking this to the pose called gate pose, you're going to slide the right hand down the right leg, and the left arm is going to come up.
Oh, I've got, you know what, I was going to join a...
And now we're in gate pose. Feeling this stretch, really reach through those left fingers. Feeling the stretch down that left side body. And then we're going to come around and you're going to bring that left hand down onto the ground. The right hand's going to come up and over. And we're going to move into kneeling side angle pose. So now you'll reach down the side of the body. Now you feel the stretch sensation run along the other side of the body. Any issues with the neck, feel free to turn the head down towards the ground instead of looking straight forward. That'll be an easier position for the neck. The hand that's overhead, point it right up towards the ceiling. And my daughter just smiled because she knows what's next. We went over this. That long leg is going to lift off of the ground. This is kneeling half moon pose. See if you can stay here and breathe at the same time with me. And inhale and exhale 3 and inhale. Exhale 2, inhale, you got it. Exhale, tuck that knee back in. Coming onto your hands and knees, back onto your hands and knees, facing forward again. Take this into a child's pose. So the knees are out to the side, the hips back over the heels, the forehead draws down towards the ground. Back into a place of noticing. So we just move the body a bunch, and the mind might already be in that space of the judge. Really easy with the body to move into the space of the judge, but I want you to remain the explorer, to notice those movements in the body. And now, when we're here, a little compression into the knees, the ankles, the hips. If it's too much compression, you can lift the hips up a bit. Breath comes in and goes out. Comes in and out. We're going to repeat that little sequence on the other side. So coming up onto your hands and knees, you're going to lift your left knee off of the ground, having the sole of the left foot up towards the ceiling. And noticing that there's intention with that leg. The foot is flexed. There's strength in that leg. There's also strength in the back body. There's strength in the hands pressing down into the floor. So the whole body nice and strong. Lifting the knee up about 6 inches and then down 6 inches. Control up about 6 inches, down about 6 inches. Slow is more control, helps with the small muscle group. So back and forth, up and down slowly, mindfully, up and down 6, up and down 5, up and down 4, up and down 3, up and down 2, up and down, up, down. Nice. And bring that leg down to hover. So now you've got the left knee hovering over the ground and bringing the knee out to the side. And out to the side and back down, out to the side. I got to comment that birds. Yes, that's what I'm hoping for. So I'm hoping the sensation that you're noticing is a burning type of sensation, a strength kind of sensation. Feel your strength in this move. How strong you're getting, how strong you are to be able to even do this move. Knees out to the side, straighten the leg and put the toes down to the side. Yeah. And I gave you a bunch of reps, but if you're finding that's a really strong move for you, so 1 rep, maybe 1.5 reps might be enough. These are new moves, and new moves we're trying to get into the body to bring that strength. Okay, so the legs out the side, we're going to try 2 of these. It's even stronger. Hands pressed into the back, floor, back body strong, leg lifts off of the ground, down to hover and back up, and down to hover and back up, and then place those toes back down. You can take a nice big exhale here and then stand up on the right knee. Standing up on the right knee, you're going to take this into gate pose. It's one of my favorite poses, lifting the right arm up and come over. So I love this pose because you are able to stretch your love handle in this pose. And maybe you haven't even thought about your love handle lately, but right now, right here, we're thinking about the love handle. And see what you can do with that right hand, the right shoulder, to really get the stretch running through the love handle. Stretch. And then coming all the way over and into side angle pose. So the right hand connects with the ground, the left hand up and over. And the arm might not touch the ear, but the arm's going to come towards the ear, that left arm, just to really feel the stretch down the side body. You might even want to point that left toe to really feel that line travel all the way down the side of the body. Yes, just keep working at things, get stronger with work, repetition. Nice. Coming back up through. Oh, sorry. Coming back down, keeping, sorry, the right hand on the floor, left hand up towards the ceiling. Finding that nice line between the ceiling and the floor with the arms. And here we're going to lift that long leg, left leg off of the floor. This is a strong move, so it might not lift much. It might lift for a moment. Remember, we're not judging, we're just noticing, trying to see what happens when we do these crazy things with the body. Holding it up for 3, for 2, for 1. Nice. That knee can come, foot can come back down, come all the way around onto your hands and knees, facing the front of your mat. Coming back to that move we did in the beginning, that torso movement. So round in a circle, around in an imaginary barrel, or back and forth like cat and cow. I don't want to say too many names because then it seems like you're doing something because of the name. And I want you to do this move because of the feel. I want you to feel this way and feel that way. Keeping the mind involved with noticing the sensations in the body keeps the mind in that mindfulness state, which ideally will add to that nice feeling of space and bliss that you'll get at the end of the yoga class if we're spending a lot of time really noticing these moments one after the other when they pass. Okay, tuck the toes under, lift the hips up, and come into a downward facing dog. We're here to stretch the backs of the legs. So you might automatically notice the backs of the legs, pedaling one heel, then the other heel. If you have wrist sensitivities, you're going to walk the feet in a little bit more just to take that extra stress away from the wrists. Pedaling, noticing, stretching out a bit, movement into the backs of the legs. And then walk the feet forward between the hands, coming to the top of your mat, standing forward, fold. Create some space between your feet. So they're not really close, but they have a little bit more than hip distance, some stability there. Leah's hands are touching the ground. If yours aren't touching the ground, bend your knees a bit to find the fingertips connecting with the ground, and then come up onto your toes. And as you come up onto your toes, you're going to want to find a gaze spot on the floor to look at, because now we're balancing on the toes, getting these feet nice and strong. And then once you're up on your toes, see if you can take the weight away from the fingers. So now you're balancing just on the toes. And you might wobble and you might shake, and that's your body figuring it out. Remember, we're using those noticing minds, the explore minds. From here, the heels will move down to hover over the ground, and then back up onto your tippy toes. The heels will move to hover, back up onto your tippy toe, down to hover, and back up onto your tippy toes. This is great strengthening work for the knees, the calf, the ankles, and the feet to make them so ready for these flip-flops this summer. Okay, so we're up on the tippy toes. Going to take a big move here, and you're probably going to wobble. I'm just going to tell you from the beginning, you're probably going to wobble, and that is okay. You're going to swoop the arms out to the sides, come all the way up to standing, reaching up towards the ceiling on the way up, staying on your toes. If you came off of your toes, that's totally fine. Just come back up onto your toes now. You're on your tippy toes. Arms are overhead. They can be overhead or they can be out to the sides. If you want a little bit more of a balancing point, have your arms out to the sides. Still up onto your tippy toes, and then in this place, find a gaze spot to look at. Bring your heels to hover, and back up onto the tippy toes. Heels to hover, back up onto the tippy toes. Heels to hover, back up onto the tippy toes. Why not? Why not? It's Tuesday. Okay, so shifting your weight over towards your right tippy toes, and see if maybe just for a moment, just like you're exploring a new land, what's happening there? A new lake, a new trail. Those left toes might lift for a second. You're probably going to sway. You're probably going to wobble. That's okay. That's okay. Your body's learning something. Left toes connect back into the ground, thank goodness. And then shift your weight over, and the right toes lift up for, they might not even lift up, but you can notice as soon as you try to lift them up, the whole body wants to engage. It wants to learn this new thing. Okay, now those toes, let's just, before anybody gets hurt here, both toes back down onto the ground, both heels back down onto the ground. Nice. Yeah, you can turn to face me, hands down to the sides of the body, and start to make circles. Start to make circles with your neck. Nice big circles all the way around. Way around. And the next time your ear lands towards your right shoulder, leave it there. Take your right hand up and over onto your left ear. So you're using the weight of the right arm to bring the head over. And then notice in your left hand, as if you're holding onto a really heavy suitcase, that left hand, that left arm is really heavy, making lots of space between the side of the left ear and the edge of the left shoulder, getting into the neck. Releasing the head from that side, bring the head around and all the way over. So now the left ear is towards the left shoulder. The left arm comes up and over onto the right ear. The right hand has the imaginary suitcase and it's being drawn down and away, feeling that stretch sensation run all the way down the side of the neck. Couple of mindful breaths here, noticing the stretch sensation. Where's the center of it? Where does it radiate out to? That micro noticing helps the mind stay involved. Releasing the head, bring the chin down towards the chest, interlace the hands behind the head, and use the weight of the hands behind the head to encourage the chin a little bit closer to the chest. And you can feel this stretch running down the back of the neck and maybe even running down between the shoulder blades. Releasing the neck, releasing the head back to center. Bring the hands in prayer position in front of the chest. And in prayer position, so the fingertips are touching. Take a mindful moment now to notice how the fingertips are touching. And if you can stay balanced standing here, eyes can close to really notice that each fingertip is touching its mate. It's not squishing it, it's just touching, just barely touching. The breath is coming in and going out and coming in, going out and coming in, going out. Looking in front of you, find a gaze spot in front of you, shifting your weight over towards your right foot, and your left foot comes into tree pose. So the left foot, the toes can stay down onto the ground just barely, or they can slide up the calf, up the knee, or maybe up towards the thigh. It really doesn't matter how high up the foot goes. It's more that you're standing on one foot and trying to stay balanced. You're probably going to wobble. You want your eyes open and focused on one point in front of you. A little space with this one, so the space to notice the body, trying not to clench with your feet or your jaw, that the edges of the body in this tree pose are relatively soft but engaged to hold the balance. Knee comes back to center and back down onto the ground. Switching over to the other side. So generally balance is something that our body is learning. So if you don't spend a lot of time standing on one foot, you might find yourself wobbling, which is totally fine. Those of you who practice yoga more regularly might find that this pose gets a little bit easier over time. Though having said that, and having done yoga for over 30 years, there's some days where I cannot balance at all, and it doesn't matter what I do. So that could be you today too. So don't take yourself too seriously. Just we're here to notice what's today like. Our world is a little bit wobbly these days. Perhaps that would reflect in your balancing poses too. Knee comes back to center and place that foot back down onto the ground. Coming to the front of your mat, some of you might already be there, but Leah will have you turn towards the front of your mat. You keep your right foot forward and set the left foot back behind you. We're coming into a warrior one. So that back heel is going to connect with the ground. Arms are up. The front knee has a bend to it. And then notice the fingertips. They're going to point behind you towards the upper corner of the room. They might not go exactly, but kind of in that direction of the upper corner of the room. So you're leaning back. This next move is a big move. So you're going to fold forward. The hands are going to come down and towards the floor and up and back and point back towards the same upper corner of the room. Inhale, coming back up and back. Exhale, coming forward and down. Arms continue on and up. Inhaling, arms come up and back. Try to time this with the breath. Exhale, swooping forward, arms continue up and back. 3 more. Inhale, the arms up and back. Exhale, fold forward, arms swoop and continue. Inhaling up and back. Exhale, swooping and continue. This next move, inhale up and back, is going to change from here. Arms are going to come out to the sides, and you're going to lift that back leg off of the floor as you fold forward, coming into airplane pose or warrior 3 pose. Maybe the foot doesn't really lift off the ground. Maybe it lifts off for a moment here. Folding forward, strong, balancing. You have your gaze spot. With control, see if you can bend the leg you're standing on to place the back toes down onto the ground. The arms come up and back. A little bit more like a lunge pose. The heel can be lifted away from the ground. Arms up and back. Couple extra breaths here. We are floating back and forth. That movement back and forth is called dynamic movement. It's often found in the style of yoga we call Vini yoga. And so now we're kind of playing with that idea of moving back and forth between 2 poses to the hold of the pose. Nice. Step the back foot forward and the hands come to prayer position in front of you. Take a mindful moment here. Fingertips barely touching. That's all that matters. Explore that touch. Nice. Okay, we got the left foot forward and the right one's going to step back. So we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So that back heel is going to connect with the ground for this first move, a little bit more stability. And you can always move that back foot towards the outer edge of the mat a bit to give yourself a little bit more control. Hands up and back. There's a nice bend into that front knee. These are the big swooping motions. You can let this one go. Exhale, folding forward, arms continue on up and back. Inhaling up. Exhaling, swooping forward. Inhaling up. Nice. Try to time this with the breath. Whole breath to get here. Whole half a breath to get there. Exhaling, inhaling up. Maybe a little pause. Exhaling forward. A little pause as the fingertips reach as close as they can towards the back corner. Inhaling up. And forward 4. Up. And forward 3. Up. Looking good, looking good. Forward 2. Up. Okay, here's our big move. Forward, arms out to the sides, coming forward onto that front leg. Back leg lifts off of the ground as if you're taking off. In your airplane pose, you may wobble, you may shake. You probably will wobble, you probably will shake. So don't let the mind get into a frustrated place. A noticing place is good. Strong, 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 balanced. Okay, with control, back toe connects with the ground, arms come up and back into this, what we call a crescent lunge pose. So there'll be a bend into the front knee. Doesn't have to be a big bend. Arms are up and back. I think imagine there's a string attached to your heart and it's being pulled up towards the other upper corner of the room. So you have that nice drawing forward of the chest, opening through that part of the body, creating space for breath. Nice. And then coming back to standing at the top of your mat, hands, prayer position. Give yourself that mindful moment. Draw back into this space. If someone were watching you, and maybe you have somebody watching you, but they might think that you're not doing anything here. But I would like you to think otherwise in your mind, that in your mind, this extra bit of space gives you an opportunity for noticing the little things, the fingertips touching, how the body's reacting to these moves. Nobody said we had to be perfect or right or great. Those are all thoughts of the judge. You're thinking like an explorer. Turn to face towards me, arms out to the sides, and come into five-pointed star. So the arms reach out to the sides, legs out to the sides. And for today, the feet are apart, but not too far apart, and the toes will point out towards the outer corners of your mat. I'm going to do a couple more dynamic moves, or another dynamic move between two poses here, going from this five-pointed star into goddess pose. So you bend the elbows, bend the knees, come down. Exhale. Inhale, straighten up, reaching out. Exhale, down into goddess. Inhale, up into five-pointed star. Exhale, down into goddess. Inhale, up into five-pointed star. Down into goddess. Up into five-pointed star. We're going to stay in five-pointed star. In about 2 seconds, you're going to feel like your arms are getting really heavy. So this is the strength component of this one, working to try to keep the arms up. I can tell you from 20 years of yoga teaching that no one's arms have ever fallen off in my class in this pose, and I've held it quite a long time in the past. So I'm guessing it's not going to be yours. Let's get the mind just involved in the sensations that might be happening in your shoulders. Feel that strength. What does it feel like to gain strength? It feels kind of tingly, maybe sort of burny. Yes, I love that Leah lifted the corners of her mouth. I feel like lifting the corners of the mouth definitely helps keep those arms lifted. Stay with me. Take an inhale and exhale. 3. Yep, 3. And inhale. My favorite number. Exhale. 2. Inhale. And exhale, hands can come down. Feel what it feels like to release that tinglies moving down through the arms. Point the right foot towards the right, bend into the right knee, right forearm onto the right thigh, left arm up and over. So we're going to go into a side angle pose. We did this kneeling just before, so now we're in the standing version. Like Lee, you might want to adjust the feet a little bit to find this line running down the side of the body. And I really want you to reach through that left arm to feel the stretch running through that left side body somewhere. We're going to take this into a dynamic move, coming into exalted warrior, which is kind of like the gate pose, sliding the hand down the left leg, right arm up and over. We're going to take with this with the breath between those two. So exhale, side angle pose. Inhale, coming back. This class is a designed class, so poses that we've been doing so far kind of leading to this point, going back and forth between these two places. We did this on our knees. We've used other muscles to kind of add to the positions that we're doing here, back and forth with the breath. So try to make this, as I've designed it in the class, a peak experience in the class. So you're really, really noticing how you can time the movement with the breath. And so what the body looks like is secondary to timing the movement with the breath back and forth. It may not be moving at the same pace as Leah. I'm guessing you probably aren't moving at the same because you are your own person here. And forth. Okay, the next time you move forward, we're going to take this right into half moon pose where the back leg is going to lift off the ground. The line of the arms between the ceiling and the floor will open up. This is a big move, so you might not stay balanced. You might wobble. The toe might not lift off the ground that much. That's okay. Stay with me. Stay strong for 3, for 2. With control, place those toes back down behind you, coming back up into five-pointed star. Ta-da! You made it back into five-pointed star. Let's go into the other side. Point the left foot towards the left, bend into the left knee, left forearm onto the left thigh, right arm up and over. Some of you with me last week know that we did a bit of variation on this one too, so this might feel familiar. Windmilling the arms around. I like to build, and that's how these 6 weeks will go. The building on some of the poses over the weeks to feel stronger, to keep that noticing mind involved, back and forth. Strength is an amazing thing with the body. You keep working at it, your body will get stronger. Back and forth. Finding your own breath pace, your perfect movement. Maybe your eyes are open for balance, or maybe they're sort of closed open, just to really get that inward noticing as you're going back and forth and back and forth. Getting ready. So this next time, take your weight onto that front foot, back foot lifts off the ground, arms make a line-ish between the ceiling and the floor. And if you have a chair nearby, you can use it for help, just like Leah did. Wobbling's okay, shaking is okay. Stay with me. You got this. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Place that foot back down. One side is usually better than the other side. So if you notice that, you're just like everybody else. Slide the hands down the legs, fold forward, spread leg forward, fold. So your hands are towards the floor. They might touch the floor. They might not touch the floor. That's okay. Different hip structures and leg lengths and arm lengths allow for different connections here. But the hands are forward, folding forward, and you feel that stretch down the backs of the legs. Walk your hands over towards your right foot. So we're just getting a little different stretch here. And then the hands come back through center and over to the other side. And you can give your mind a little bit of shift here. A lot of what we worked on in this first part of class is revolved around the strength of the body, and that's a really important part of yoga. We often think about yoga for flexibility, but flexibility and strength go hand in hand, and being strong in the body often helps us more in our daily life. So I do like to keep my classes a little bit more into that strength idea, but from now on we're really getting into the stretchy idea. So you can, as your hands come back towards center, feel that stretch sensation run through the back of the leg. And it's a usual type of thought when you're feeling a stretch sensation in the body to think that that's bad. And if you didn't feel that stretch sensation, that somehow you would be more flexible, which is not the case at all. So just let that thought go. You're going to feel a stretch sensation no matter how flexible you are. So wherever you are right now is perfect, is a perfect place to feel the stretch. And point the right foot towards the front of your mat and step the left foot to meet it. So now you're standing at the top of your mat and feet together. This next little move is, going to stay forward, Leah. So you're standing forward, fold at the top of your mat. This next move is a nice deep compression into the knees. So if this move isn't going to work for your knees, you can sit onto your bum however it works for you. But if you're with me on this move, then keeping the feet relatively together, sit the hips down in a leg together squat. It might get you might fall back onto your bum, but not to worry, it is padded. You will be fine. Heels might lift off the ground depending on the structure of your ankles, but if the heels can touch the ground, feel free to let the heels touch the ground. And bring the hands behind you and lean back until your bum hits the ground. Yeah, we did this for a transition. Hands are behind you. And now you're going to windshield wiper the knees from side to side, this side to that side, and this side to that side. And the next time your knees come over to the right towards me, Leah, you can leave them there. Keeping your right hand on the ground, the left hand comes around and you're going to twist around and come into a pose we call deer twist. So your knees are going to be pointing to the side. Your hands are going to come around. And as you come around towards your elbows. Now noticing your legs, the lower knee points to the side and the upper knee can slide down the lower calf to point down a lot, down the length of your mat. So that lower knee might sit at the bottom of or below the bottom foot. So the upper knee might sit on or behind the lower foot, somewhere along there. Where the knee and the foot are secondary, because where I'm hoping you're feeling this stretch, and we're doing all this to the body to get a stretch into the waist, into the lower back. This is one of the few yoga poses that can get this asymmetrical stretch, one side of the back stretch into the lower waist and lower back. It's a nice option for the lower back. If you feel sort of muscle tightness running along the side of the back, I encourage you to do this pose. So most of us have one side that's a little tighter than the other on the side of the back. So you might notice this pose a little bit more strongly on one side than the other. And if it's too strong, just know that the knees stacked on top of one another takes that extra tension away. So you can manipulate this pose to suit the stretch sensation that you're feeling in the lower back, which is why we're here. A little bit of space and time here. Close your eyes. Breathe. I'm going to take this pose to pigeon pose. So keeping facing the way you are, walk up onto your hands. You're on your right hip and you're going to slide your right knee around behind the right wrist. And this will take us to pigeon pose. So the right knee's behind the right wrist, right foot is out to the left. And you'll fold forward from there. This puts that right knee in a really interesting position. And for some knees, that's not okay. So feel free to slide over onto the outside of your right hip if you're feeling the sensation in the outside of the knee, trying to stretch the IT band, which runs into the outside of the hip. And we want to get that place of stretch in the hip side rather than the knee side. But some knee structures don't allow for that, but we can still get an IT band stretch whether your hips are square or you've rolled over towards the right hip a little bit more. You can feel it, notice it. You might even really go into the side of the hip and imagine that stretch sensation is like a balloon. And you can imagine that balloon expanding in the side of the hip as you inhale. I usually think of a red one. Exhale, release any runners in this group. I might also feel this is a especially strong stretch for regular runners as we're working into that IT band, which is something that gets stronger, gets thicker as you run more consistently. But you don't just have to be a runner to feel this one either. It's a strong stretch. It's helping us continue on that movement. We did the deer twist to stretch the lower back, and so now we're taking that stretch and we're just sliding it down and around beside the lower hip to bring that sense of space and opening all through the side body, waist, hip. Walking the hands up. If you're not over onto the right side of the hip, stay over onto the right side of the hip. This is fancy here. You're going to bring that left leg all the way around in front of you. So you're going to bring the other leg around so the soles of the feet meet in front of you, like long lost souls. Chuckle, chuckle. Soles of the feet meet in front of you and walk the hands forward, folding forward. Okay. And really, do you want your nose touching your feet at this point? Probably not. If they happen to come close, you might take a little whiff. If they're not that close, you can feel like, oh, yay, I don't have to smell my feet today. The feet are together, but they don't have to be tucked tight into the body. A little space between the feet and the torso gives the hips a little bit more, most hip structures, a little bit more space for that forward folding action. Where do you feel this one? Hands come back up. Bring your hands right behind you. Give yourself a little counter stretch. Chest draws forward. Windshield wiper the knees from side to side. And then the next time your knees are over towards the left, keep them over towards the left. We're going to take this into deer twist. So bring the right hand around. And so you're twisting around, coming around towards your forearms. Top knee can stay where it is, or the top knee can slide down along the bottom calf. And again, you're moving that top leg not to move it into a place, but more to notice where the stretch sensation is happening in the waist and lower back. And once you have that stretch sensation, feel free to let the head hang, eyes closed, mind's eye can move towards the lower back. Walk the hands back up. Slide that left knee around behind the left wrist, and you're going to come into pigeon pose on this side, folding forward. And so this one, again, this is a whole different hip. So if you're feeling like this, or a knee, and so if it feels too much on your knee to square the hips, that is okay. You can still get the same stretch by sliding the hips over towards the left hip a little bit more. So more of the weight is taken into the hip and not the knee. Imagine that balloon again into the side of the hip, expanding the hip as you inhale and releasing as you exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Walk the hands back up, staying over onto the side of the left hip. Bring the right leg around and in front of you. This time, both legs are out in front of you. Legs can be together or a little bit of space in front of you. And we're going to take this as a forward fold. So rounding forward. For some of your hip structures, you might feel like you're leaning back a bit here, in which case you can have your hands behind you and press your hands behind you to get that forward fold feeling. This is called a west side stretch. So the west side meaning the back side. So just noticing the back side of the body here. Where in the body is this stretch being felt? It can be felt in the upper back, the lower back, into the bum cheeks, into the backs of the legs. There might be one main spot. It might radiate out from there. It might be a couple spots that feel sort of the same, and there's a light stretch in between those two spots. So taking this time to really notice the stretch, as something new, as something to notice, not something to judge. Walking the hands back up. Place the feet on the floor. And then slowly recline yourself back onto your back. As you're lying on your back, bring your knees into your chest and hug your knees into your chest. Yay me pose. Yay me pose. We waited all this time to get to the yay me pose. Maybe we should have started. Maybe next week we'll start with the yay me pose. Showing up on your mat. Just give yourself a little time. This yay me pose is a release for the lower back physically. But I also want you to take it to heart. All the moves that your body did today should be celebrated. The mind often wants to go into that judgment place, but try to move it away from that judgment place and find a little cause for gratitude and celebration. The fact that your body could do any bit of this class is something to be celebrated and grateful for. Legs release long on the floor, and we're going to move into our place of final relaxation. So this might be the time where you incorporate that blankie if you have one nearby, or maybe a pillow for your head, something to let yourself soften with. Moving into final relaxation. We're going to take this as a systematic relaxation of the body. So kind of like we've been doing all class, I've been mentioning parts of the body to notice. And we were doing that as we were moving the body, and I was mentioning the focal points of the poses. But here in final relaxation, The body's not moving. So make any last little adjustments to be as comfortable as you can be. Sometimes this lying position doesn't sit well for the lower back. And so noticing if that's the case for you after all the moves we made, feel free to put the feet on the floor with the knees bent or draw the knees off to one side. We started this class on our belly, so that's also another place you can lie if you're feeling like that would be a more comfortable place for you. Eyes closed. As if you're on your own exploration journey of this body in this moment. Take the mind's eye, that noticing mind's eye, down to the feet and relax the feet without really even moving them. Just notice that the feet are relaxed, or if they are holding tension, to relax that tension. Confirming the status of the feet, and the feet status is relaxed. Bringing attention into the calves. Same sort of thing. Mind's eye notices that the calves are relaxed. Mind's eye notices the thighs, bringing the mind's eye into the thighs, noticing around the thighs. They did so much work today. They're going to relax. Noticing the bum cheeks and lower belly. They're going to relax. Moving up into the torso a bit, the internal organs are relaxing. Moving up in the torso around the rib cage. Rib cage is softening. It's soft to let that natural breath come and go. That slight inhale, the slight exhale of a relaxed breath. The right arm is relaxed all the way down to the right fingers. And the left arm is relaxed all the way down to the left fingers. Notice the edges of the shoulders soften towards the floor behind you. And with the mind's eye, noticing the body, wherever the mind's eye could notice, it's soft and it's relaxed. The ground is supporting you. The face is relaxed, starting with the lips. Lips are relaxed. Tongue is relaxed. Roof of the mouth is even relaxed. Eyes, eye sockets relaxed. Forehead relaxed. I'm back from the forehead into the mind. Relaxed. There might be a thought or two that pops into the mind, but let it float away. Try not to attach to it. Like a cloud on a summer's day floating by. I have a quote here, a little poem called Walk Slowly by Donna Falls. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still, and just like that, something in you settles, softens, makes space for imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper, and I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we all cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget, catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going, that many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe, and be, and to walk slowly into the mystery. Bring your mind's eye back to the breath and start to increase the breath with intention, breathing in, out, in, and out. Arms come overhead. Give yourself a nice big stretch, maybe the biggest stretch you've taken today, from fingertips to toe tips. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And then one at a time, bring your knees into your chest, hug them in, yay, me pose. You're at your own house. You don't have to sit up. You can stay lying on your mat as long as you can afford today. But if you're with me, you can feel free to come up and around to a seated. Thank you so much for joining me today. I just wanted to give you a big thanks. Thanks for taking the time. Thank you for yourself. I hope your body's already saying thank you. The light in me sees the light in each of you, and I hope you enjoy your afternoon. If you have any questions or wonderments, feel free